Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and the purpose of this little weekly chat is to look at various situations and um, I kind of give my suggestions. It's pretty much based on reality therapy and choice theory. It's also based on biblical teachings and my upbringing of living on a farm and being well integrated into the community. And every week I like I say, I just give suggestions. And the purpose from my point of view is to always be conscious of living in the now, that this is the only moment at our disposal. And then also to receive everything that comes into our life, good, bad, and not so good, receive them as a lesson and something that we can learn by. And so today, we're going to share the screen here. And today we're going to be talking about why or why not. And, why do we ask all these questions? And so welcome to everyone that's here. Joe, it's good to see you. Maybe we can talk, hang around after the program, and we'll get to know you a little more, and those also that will be joining us. But why or why not? Sometimes I like to look at this puzzle because I had one time. It's the only puzzle I do believe that I ever didn't finish or even work with very much. And it was all one color. And it was hard to tell the back from the front. And as you can see here in this one with my that even some of these that are inside have the square edge, which makes you think it's the rim of the puzzle. But I had a puzzle similar to that was all one color, and it's the only one that I ever know of that I gave up on. But anyway, sometimes we think, well, just a simple why is a yes or no, or why not is a yes or no. But no, that's too simplistic, because there is no way that we can see things from only one dimension. Simplistic is failure to acknowledge all of the variables that is in every single solitary interaction in life. So, the key response to why always is and always has been one of two reasons. One reason is because it seemed like a good idea at the moment. It was that suddenness of it. It was that, not even thinking about it, the impulsiveness. It seemed like a good idea at the moment. Heard the story of the guy that was out in the desert. There was 2 or 3 of them, and they were together, and they were out in the desert, and they were lost, and it was hot, and they were just ready to give up. There wasn't anyone to give up to. And then this guy just takes off running, and there's some cactus there, and he jumps in the cactus. And as he is, having great pain, and his friends are helping him to get out and everything, they said, "Why did you do that?" And said, "Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time." And sometimes it's hard to explain our good ideas at the time. And another reason why it always is because all of the conditions were met for whatever happened to have happened. And I have a few other things, not that this is necessarily a because what you think, what you reason, what you understand, what you experience, in the midst of all of that, there lies greater cosmic reasons as to why things happen the way they did. Whether it is an argument, whether it is a wreck, whether it is just stumbling and falling, there are too many reasons that are there that we can't see. We are gifted with free will. And so we have there's this divine fairness. Because we have a free will, we can always choose to do good, or we can choose to do evil. And always, I like to look at words. Those of you that are familiar with know how much I love words. And words always, meaning forever, meaning eternal, meaning ongoing, and always, meaning no matter how many directions, no matter how many different things are put there or taken away from, those always and always have some kind of a shadow to them, some kind of a something there. So the key response to why not always is and always has been one of three reasons. These are suggestions, okay? Because they did not think of it at the moment and you weren't there to give them your input, or I wasn't there to give them my input. Because they thought of it, they thought of, why not? They thought of a good why for why not, but they decided against it. It's kind of like that rueing afterward. It's that being too late smart. And then also because all the conditions were not met for whatever happened to have happened. If it didn't happen, it's because the conditions weren't met for it to have happened. And there is always a because. Everything has a initial pushing, there's always a because. And beyond whatever you think, reason, experience, there's a greater cosmic cause there than we can know. And then again, because we have this wonderful gift that is also a dangerous gift called a free will, that we can make our own decisions and do whatever we think is, and no matter what it turns out to be, whether it turns out to be okay or not so okay, we do have that free will while we're on planet Earth. And in the album of Bird Talker, in the album that is labeled 1, I love this lyric that they have there, that underneath what's detectable with our eyes, every particle is vibrating with one life. One life. And no matter where we are on the planet or in the universe, those particles are vibrating. So Carolyn Myss, a writer of many, many books on healing, and she says healing involves giving up the reason to know why. Suppose that, just kind of looking at a scenario, suppose you went home and your home was just, now the picture that I have over here is like from a tornado. And here in Texas, they happen quite frequently and other places too. But anyway, suppose you went home to find your house completely destroyed. And what was it? Did a tornado come out of the sky and that was the only one that was destroyed? Or was it some kind of a misdirection? Somebody hit a wrecking ball at the wrong house to tear down? Was it an explosion? And finding out why may bring a little bitty peace of mind. But the fact remains that the damage has been done and that the next step is moving forward. So searching for why or why not will not rebuild the house. It will not solidify or rebuild the relationship. It will not rebuild the bank account or the reputation in searching for that why. It's just kind of digging and digging and digging to something that's no end, because many times we will even get an answer to why, but not accepting it, whether it may be the very answer as to why or why not. And so searching for whys impedes progress. To clean up the mess, to begin to rectify things, begins by regaining your own stability. It begins by finding the courage within you to do your part in rebuilding or reconnecting, whether it's a structure or a reputation, or whether it is a relationship. So acceptance. Acceptance, continuing to search for why or why not, comes from a failure to just accept. It is what it is. So what? Now what? And that so what, yes, it has pain to it, but it's also a healing in now what? Now what do we do to overcome this that did happen or that didn't happen? Acceptance, or the grief of it, the failure to accept, comes from a heart that's grieving. Now that grief is very, very, I mean, it's part of living. That when things happen and they hurt, but not to hold on to it for way beyond time. It comes from something that you want to cry about. And so cry, rant, rave, flail. Go ahead and talk about it and speak it out. Get it out of your system. Talk about all the regrets of what you did do, what you did not do, and begin to sit with them. And in the process of sitting with them, just let them pass through. Let all those regrets, all of those hurts, all of those sorrows, let them pass through. But do not let it make you sick, because we can. You know, oh, that makes me sick that this happened. And it is hurtful. It really is. But it can make us physically, mentally, emotionally, financially sick, off kilter. We cannot move past what we have not embraced. Or another way to say that is we do not have the liberty to throw away what we do not own. I had a young lady that had gone through a series that I taught, and anyway, she moved to another city, and we happened to be camping in that city, and I knew she was there, and I gave her a call, and she invited me over, and it was down in Kerrville, and it was in a mansion. It was a corporation that had bought this mansion, held their headquarters in a mansion, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And the girl that had gotten the job there, she was just so proud of herself for having gotten a job with them. And she was taking me through and showing me everything there. And it was plush, plush, plush. And when we got into the kitchen area, there on the table, amid the gold on the faucets and amid the crystal that was in all of the cabinets and everything, there on the table was some flowers, a deflated balloon, and some flowers that were dead and drooping. And she saw those, and and she said, "Oh, those aren't mine." And I didn't think anything about it until afterward. Okay, I thought, well, yeah, sure, they weren't yours if you're, if we don't own something, then we don't have the permission to throw away the dead flowers, or maybe press one or two of them and keep them for a memorial, or maybe press the deflated balloon and have it as something that someone sent it to me because my birthday, because I was sad, because. That if we don't own something, then we're not at liberty to release it. We're not at liberty to move past it. We're not at liberty to let go. And so acknowledging your hurts, your sadness, and your wounded emotions is very important. And then in the process of doing that, and I'm not talking instant, okay? In the process of doing that, step into the renewal of today and be pleasantly surprised when that peace shows up. When there begins to be some peace that says, it's going to be all right as we begin to move on down the road. This is not to say that the past will never be discussed. It's not to say that there's not still a vacancy there, a hurt there. But it is to say that we have made a decision, a consciously and deliberate decision to set aside those wounds, to set aside those vindictiveness, to set aside that deep grief while we heal and while relationships are built or rebuilt. And then again, to be pleasantly surprised when that release shows up, when it's been a few days, it's been a few hours, and we have that we're beginning to be involved in something without having that continually in the back of our mind. And you will know that the past is the past when you realize it's not worth. Maybe that's not a good way worth remembering, but whenever it's not a constant reminder, that it's kind of life saying that don't make it more than it really was. You've already grieved, and let the grieving. And as you begin to make allowances for others' faults and think of moving past those hurts, as you begin to realize that, have compassion for our fellow travelers, for those that made mistakes, whether they were And then know that you always, always have a choice. And it's not just a choice, it's hundreds of them, possibly thousands of them. And so how are we going to use our energy? Are we going to use it, our energy and our emotions kind of tied together? Are we going to use them for retaliation, or are we going to use them for resolution, to bring a solving, to bring a settling off? Now, there are times, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that there are times that sometimes we have to give something to a higher authority, whether it is to tell the boss and leave it with them, whether it is to go to a civil authority, or to, to give it to a higher authority. But when you do give it to a higher authority, realize that it's out of your hands. And it's moving on. And you cannot viciously retaliate and stay healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, relationally. We just can't, because it goes back to, it makes us sick. And we may not want to acknowledge that, but that can be one of the most healing things can be. That, oh, whoa, it's me, it's me. There's a song, it's me standing in the need of prayer. Not my brother, not my sister, not the preacher, not the deacon. They're just standing all okay. It's me. I'm the one that needs to settle some issues within myself. And so what do you choose? And why? Or why not? And do some deep thinking. So I have a couple of little things here to share with you. This is from, her name's at the bottom, Meg Lucy. And she has another name too. We'll see it when I get down to the bottom. But anyway, this is a little thing that she came up with, and I want to share it with you on signs and symptoms of inner peace. And when we can begin to recognize these symptoms, it's like, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer to being okay. So be on the lookout for the symptoms of inner peace. Hearts of a great many have already been exposed, and it is possible that people everywhere could come down with it in an epidemic proportion. This could pose a serious threat to what has, up to now, been a fairly stable condition of world conflict. So, symptoms that we're gaining inner peace is when we have an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment. When we have a loss of interest in judging ourselves or in judging others. When we have a loss of interest in interpreting the actions of others. I know what they're thinking. I'm a mind reader. When we lose interest in the conflict. When we lose the ability to worry. And I love it. She says, this is a very serious symptom. I'm just not worried about it. When we frequently have overwhelming episodes of appreciation. Whoa, where'd that come from? When we have contented feelings of connectedness with others in nature. When we have these frequent attacks of smiling. What am I smiling about? It is a tendency to think and to act spontaneously rather than on fears based on past experiences. And Meg Blackburn Lucy is the one that came up with this, and I want to give her credit for that. And so I have another little poem here. This is from a book that I've written called Creating Value. And it's 10 pages long, 10 chapters long. And each chapter has a part of the poem. And then eventually you get it all together. Well, this is just two little parts of the poem, from chapter 6 on making it personal, and then on chapter 8 of developing yourself and others. In becoming what we're born to be, I need you and you need me. Giving, receiving, encouraging, believing, a tapestry together weaving, a universal building now and for eternity, a universal melting pot. We're in it together, whether we like it or not. Irritant, blessing, accepting, protesting. The recipe calls for yielded resting, creating the wonder of Camelot. And so that's the end of our little talk for today. I thank you for being here. And those of you that are here live, we'll have a time to chat. So I'm going to close the recording when I finally stop everything else. And many blessings.
Hello.